Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, everybody? And we're back. I'm your host, Garrett Goldsberry from Sergeant and Samurai. My co-host this evening, my brother from another mother, Skaggs over at Two Do Men. Both our podcast partners are losers. So we're going to roll in tonight. Steve's on storm duty. Cap's fucking probably playing with himself. We don't know what's going on. But me and Skaggs have a lot of stuff that we want to cover today. There's been a lot of things going on. And I'm new to live on the Twitter Spaces, or the X Spaces as they call them, right? So I'm not sure if you guys can come in and, comment and talk to us. I don't know if Skaggs is able to see it, but if you can, reach out and see if we can communicate with you.
Yeah, people could leave comments underneath. They could do that, but I can't see them live in the moment. At least not on here. I'm not that advanced yet. I'm just figuring this shit out. I'm not sure if Twitter's the place yet for the lives. I'm still kind of bouncing back and forth between YouTube and Twitter.
You do any on Rumble?
No, I haven't done it on Rumble yet, the live. No.
I know you got to do like a 24-hour post notice before you can do it on those type of things.
Yeah, it might be. I'm still trying to figure out what the best place to put a live is. At the moment, I can only go live to one place at a time because the multi-stream tool here is not working correctly.
And the computing power and all that other shit. You gotta have like a supercomputer to reach the masses. I know it is a process. So for people to understand, we're a small operation here.
We're a small, tight-knit Navy SEAL, clean, but we're tiny here. Yeah, we don't have a big budget team behind us doing the production end of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have families that we have to feed first before we get cool electronic shit. So it kind of puts us in that space. But we're doing our best to reach as many people, especially I know Skaggs for a long time has been shadow banned. I've been shadow banned since 1986. So that's kind of where we're at.
Before there even were shadow bans, Garrett was shadow banned.
Don't listen to me talk. I'm not as bad as James, but I'm pretty bad. My personal has actually been taken off again. They've let me gain 2,000 followers in the past week. So I was like, all right, I'm almost at 43,000. So I'm like, okay, we're getting there. All of us would be at 12 million by now, but they don't like the truth out there all the time, kids. So, but I'm excited to, shoot the shit with you. I know we wanted to cover some of the WEF stuff going on in Davos. We wanted to cover up on Dirty Little Ron dropping out of the race and throwing his support like a cuck, like we knew he would.
Yep.
And Nikki Haley, we can get into that a little bit. And what else were we going to touch on today?
The thing is, me and Garrett, we were saying this before we started recording, that me and you talk more about politics than me and Cap, or you and Steven, which is funny. So, maybe we'll do a couple more sharecasts throughout the year this year to try and make more content when they're not available, because we're always just shooting the shit through text message anyway.
And half the shit we say, we're like, dude, we should just be podcasting this because it makes sense. Because you know what? The other cool thing, I know I've said this before on your show and our show, especially between me and you, we agree on a lot of stuff, but we disagree on a lot of stuff. Sure. So it makes you think.
Yes.
And we can have those live debates where me and you are shooting the shit. You might make me look like an asshole. I might make you look like an asshole, but it's coming from a good place. So we're not as butthurt, and we can actually oh, Skaggs got a fucking excellent point right here. Maybe I am a fucking Momo, and I can look to the dark side and see if there's some light over there, and vice versa. Especially with all the the black pills going around. I mean,
right.
you've been definitely, I could say, just from looking at myself, is I've been black pilled by certain things lately, and I'm just we're all going through the suck. Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it's easy to get sucked in.
It is. That will play good into tonight's episode because of what we're going to talk about with the World Economic Forum and Javier Milei. And we work together a lot on social media. Me and you cross post all the time, especially on Instagram. And I always find that interesting because I get kind of like a window into the people who follow you, what they think, and you could get a window into the people that follow me, what they think. So it's like this weird cross where, and then I'll read the comments because I like to always get feedback on whatever it is, especially when it comes to stuff like the World Economic Forum and Javier Milei specifically. You do see this black-pilled nihilistic thing, and that I go on a limb and say that your follower base on Instagram is more the deep,
burn it all down,
the flat Earth, deep down, conspiracy theorist world. Leans more towards that way. And then I say who I usually follow and who follows me, especially on like Twitter. I'm more like in the libertarian sphere on Twitter. Now there's crossover and overlap, of course, but when it comes to something like we're going to talk about tonight, like a Javier Milei, there's an odd connection between some libertarians who are like nihilistic on a guy like that, and then some of your like conspiracy theorist followers who are also nihilistic, and then there's me who's not. So I think that's an interesting
there's like
kind of
team up against it.
I don't know if it's a team up, but it's like two different groups of people to see how they react to stuff. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I thought maybe we could also maybe chat later about Israel. A lot of protests. And
I was going to say,
there.
I wanted to touch on that a little bit too.
One of our more interesting podcasts was when the whole October 7th happened and we were all like camping and shit. We didn't even know what was going on. That was
we're like, the world is burning. The world is burning.
Let's why don't we start though with Ron DeSantis, who's suspending his presidential campaign after his loss in Iowa. Hysterical. Thinking back to my past episode with Chris. We played a video of him after Iowa where he said we punched our ticket to New Hampshire. And I'm like, punched your ticket? I'm like, what are you fucking, what are you, riding a train, first of all? And second of all, he was making himself sound like he won. And then he drops out before the New Hampshire primary even happens. So like, dude, I don't know.
After he promises everybody, we're going to make it to South Carolina, I promise you. And you guys also had a really good post of Nikki Haley being like, this is a 2-person race now. And we're like, you're in 3rd fucking place. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, somebody actually commented on that before and was like,
right.
It didn't age well. I was like, shit, uncle. I don't know what to say on that one. I guess she was right. Although, let's not give her too much credit. I think she's just still an idiot. And she read the teleprompter wrong, like I was saying, or, they didn't update the speech in time. Unless you think, I don't know, what do you think about the Sanctus, as they call him, dropping out?
The
that
Sanctimonious.
Whole thing, yeah.
Donnie T said he's going to retire that name for now.
Of course,
but it's political theater where you can go to the old cliche, we're watching a show, right? But me and you knew that he would never last.
Yeah.
There was no fucking way in hell. And yes, was he like America's governor? But you know what? Rudy Giuliani was America's mayor until he started talking down about the election shit and all that other stuff. So you can only go so far in this political poll without catching a lot of dirt and going through the trenches and the fire. But you're going to see, the only good thing I could say is at least that they're starting to, you saw the splintering of support and they were trying to get away from Donnie T. And, I know you obviously have his take on him. I have my take on him, so on and so forth. But just in let's say in the realm of the Republican Party, bunch of fucking cooks. But in the realm of the Republic, you saw the splinter, and it is nice to see some unity coming back. You're starting to see the senators, you're starting to see and the congressmen, and you're starting to see everybody starting to get behind one candidate, which you need to do. On the other point, like, there's no fucking way that he was going to win. And him being the governor, he just did what you were supposed to do. It wasn't like he did anything outlandish. It was like, we're gonna close. He's like, no, we're not. We're gonna live life. We're gonna do this. He's like, no, you guys can come hang out. We're gonna do this. And he's like, no, like, we're just gonna kind of like, he didn't go. He looked so above and beyond because the dictatorship and the tyranny came so hard, especially in states like ours, where it was just like, wham, you were just like, this freedom loving mother lover loves us, but like at the same time, retrospect, you're looking back, or even during the time, I said it, I'm like, he's just doing what like we did before this fucking mysterious thing came out, like going to work, not wearing a fucking diaper, like, like it is what it is. So
I agree with that.
Do you feel that he'll be like a heavyweight? Like, do you think with the time he's done into the campaign, turning his followers, because they obviously have some sort of like taste in their mouth from Donald Trump, you think he's going to be able to steer his base back to them, or they're going to go full Nikki Haley?
That's a good question.
Right?
I don't,
Like,
yeah, I don't think that Ron DeSantis has that large of a real base. How many Ron DeSantis fans or followers have you ever met in real life?
none.
Right. Me neither.
Zero.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean people
How many
didn't
Nikki
like him.
Haley fans?
Zero. Even less. Negative, actually. People who hate her. They're launching full-out Never Nikki campaigns against her. The only support I ever saw...
money behind her, dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's scary.
It's interesting. She's the establishment pick. But the only support I ever saw about DeSantis was on Twitter, like, and people with the crocodiles in their name. I'm not saying he doesn't have any support whatsoever. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Florida who like him. But there was definitely, like, in terms of real, actual good faith participants, like people, I think there's a lot of crossover with Trump, like, before. And then once he went against Trump, forget it. He burned all the bridges. And, man, let me say, I mean, he ran a clinic in what not to do when you're running for president. Like, people are going to study his presidential campaign from the get-go when he started the Twitter space, and it was an epic failure, and he had just like zero emotion. Didn't even work right. I mean, that's not his fault, but Donald Trump, Donald Trump, dude, he's a political wood chipper, as we called him in the last episode,
dude,
right?
He is. That's a good way to put it.
And there's only few people who have survived it. Like Thomas Massey is one, Vivek is another. I don't see how, with how bad Ron DeSantis ran his campaign, doesn't even matter how good he was as governor. There's a point to what you're saying before, like that you did the bare minimum, which was protect our liberty. Now, to an extent, I think that should be. We should credit him for that.
Still give him credit.
Yeah,
for
right.
that.
Of course, like when a politician or a person in power does the right thing, they should be credited for it. But I thought he was weird during the campaign. Right, he seems to like not be able. He seems like autistic. Like he can't relate to people, and like the smiling, the boots. But put all that shit aside. That's what matters a lot nowadays. That stupid shit, like the meme world. It does matter a lot.
It does.
But to me, where he went south was right towards the beginning. He gave Tucker had asked all the candidates for their like written position on the war in Ukraine, and he gave a really good answer right off the bat that he was against the war and all this stuff. And then like a couple days later, he came back and changed his answer, where he was like, "Well, there's like no defined goal in the war," and he gave kind of like a meandering answer where he didn't take a position. He just
gave a very vague answer.
So to me, like I care more about like the substance on the most part, right? And what that showed me was like, okay, somebody got in his ear, somebody from the military-industrial complex, a donor or something's like, hey, you better back off. Right on the the anti-war rhetoric there, because we're not going to cut you the check.
He's also a JAG officer. He was in the Navy, so he's in that world, dude.
Yeah.
The other thing that a lot of people, I mean, there's rumbling behind the scenes. Like, from what I understand, is he really doesn't want to be in this position. It's his wife that is like hungry, like a Jill Biden. That is pushing him to do these things and to stay as governor, because I've heard too that like basically what he did was like political suicide.
Yes.
And they're kind of keeping his wife in like good lights. Like if you even heard his speech, how he was like up talking her, because they were saying that she has aspirations to run for like senator or governor or something like that. So I mean, it could be the long play to do the, bait and switch type of deal and get another Governor DeSantis for another, how many years in Florida, or get a Senate seat on that side. You don't know what goes on.
They're doing the Republican version of Michelle Obama, in a sense, you're saying?
I guess that could be a way you could look at it, I mean, that's not a terrible way to put it. But I don't know, man. I think he burned a lot of bridges and showed his true colors. And, it always goes back to say, like, you're flushing out the swamp and you don't know who's against you until their backs are against the wall and et cetera, et cetera. And it was like, I mean, Trump, geniusly put his back against the wall and made him show the American people like what the fuck he's really now, maybe just the MAGA people or whatever, but in general, it's showing what his true colors were, who was controlling him, who was pulling the, the strings, and who was doing this. And I think at this point in the game, However way you look at it, like Trump does a great job, whether you believe in, conspiracy 1, 2, or 3, he's doing a very good job of making the rats flee the ship. And then knowing, because we've talked about 1,000 times, right? In his first thing, he surrounded himself with terrible fucking people.
Yeah.
Terrible. Like hindsight 2020, like we're looking back, and I know me and you have spoke on this in private a bunch of times. Like he had fucking Bill Barr around him. He had this
John
one
Bolton.
around him. Oh my God. He's had all these fucking momos that have been around him, and now I think he's just really flushed it, and now it's really presenting where like the rhinos can't hide. It's either you get on the bus, Gus, or you're a rhino at this point. So I think he's doing a good job of doing that.
So I in retrospect, I kind of like the idea of rhinos, right? Like Trump, you could give some credit to Trump and MAGA for even coming up with that concept of rhinos. And I kind of like that because it's them pointing out like, hey, these guys don't really represent the American people. They're Republicans in name only, whatever. I'm just concerned with anytime it comes to Trump. Now, my criticisms of Trump are always principled, right? Like I didn't think he did this right or that right, not derangement. I'm just concerned with the fact that it seems like on a drop of a dime, if he tells the base, okay, well, now I like this guy, majority of the base goes and now likes this guy. If he tells the base, I don't like this guy, majority of the base goes and doesn't like that guy. Now again, I don't like that because I'm a principled take person.
Yes.
And look, okay.
So can you see Allen? Well, all right, let's throw this out there. Can you see Allen backing DeSantis now?
No, Allen, no. That's because I know Allen. I can't see Allen backing DeSantis ever. Just, again, maybe I'm wrong, right? But the amount of shit that Allen has talked about Ron DeSantis, I can't see him. Now, again, I'm speaking of broad generalities. Like our friends who are MAGA supporters, I think they're actually pretty principled, and now they might any criticisms like that I ever bring to them, they're like, no, fuck that. I still hate this guy. Or James will give me my criticisms and give me some well thought out historical response or some shit like that. So I don't know. But where are we going with that anyway?
What's that?
Oh, the fact that some people, like an Allen, would he or not?
Oh, yeah. So what I was saying, because like you were saying like, oh, well, the base get over, and you're worried about like, MAGA just being able to be told what to do. But I think like with a guy that is so Trump heavy, I mean, I think he's been posting a lot of pictures with like at Trump Tower, by the plane. So I think he's, been hanging pretty tightly. I don't know,
he's fucking the Secret Service now or something.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he's doing, good for him. I know he's doing it from the right place in his heart. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Donnie T can tell him anything, but Allen's still his own man, where he'll still be like, fuck Ron DeSantis. So I think there's a skewed view of all, like even me, right? Like I voted for him. I'm gonna vote for him fucking again. I don't give a shit, right? But at the same time, like I've always had a gripe about the vaccines with him, and I've made that fucking very clear. It's a stance that it's a hill I'll die on all day long. Do I think his handling of certain things is not great? But which one of us has 1,000 batting average?
Sure.
Now COVID thing was obviously very fucked up, but now that we know the depth of the bowels that they went to get us to be swung in the propaganda against anything he said and put everything they could against him. I mean, they used Twitter, they used Facebook, they used Instagram, they used fake reports, they used the WHO, they used the world against this man. So I could give him a little bit of leeway when it comes to like, okay, everybody had the guns pointed at you and all you had was a single shot back, on that aspect. But I mean, I think it's just just one of those things where like, I think the people that are going to think for themselves are going to think for themselves, whether they support him or not.
Sure. I think that's fair to say. My criticism, not to get too much into Trump, but my criticism always comes back to like populism without principles. I don't like.
I know we've spoken about this to depth. So
and this will actually transition well into the World Economic Forum and Javier Milei. Javier Milei was an example of populism with principles, right? And the principles being libertarianism. Right now, we could get into whether he's real or not. I'm still undecided on that as well. I think he is.
I know we've been shooting it back and forth. I mean, we listen. We've liked what we've seen.
Right.
Right. we hear the rumblings in our comments and everything else that he's a sellout here, he's a sellout there. I mean, he is an odd fucking cat.
Oh yeah,
right?
So is
We
Trump.
can agree on
So
that,
right? You have
no,
to be. You
that's what
have
I'm
to be
saying.
a crazy
Like,
fucking chainsaw wielding
do.
maniac, or a billionaire with the a fresh mouth and all this shit. Like going back to before, I was even saying like the memes. Like it's all part of that vibe that comes out of people. And look, it works. Like
It
memes
does,
are
but,
important. Yeah. The fucking
even
founding
the
fathers
great-
that passed out the pamphlets or whatever, right? And
They
shit like
did,
that. Those were memes back in the day.
The printing
Yeah.
press,
Yes,
heary, town crier, right?
Yeah, yep.
But like anybody that's great's a little odd, right? Like Michael Jordan. Think
Yeah,
about how
yeah.
many people say how competitive he was, how he was like Kobe Bryant, how he was like sadistic, the amount of shots and how he would practice before games. Like you have to be a little bit insane to go to those great. I mean, look at Einstein, look at Tesla, look at all these guys over the years that are doing extraordinary things. It looks crazy to the normal public that can't even put down a fucking burger to lose a couple pounds. Like you know what I'm saying though? Like they don't understand that grip, that determination, that focus on a goal, etc. But yeah, man, I mean, I like some of the stuff he's saying. I like the stuff he's doing. I mean, I like the video at the WEF where he's telling them all to get fucked to their face.
How good did that meme? See, again, talking about the memes, I posted that meme. I think Samurai Garrett made it originally, but we stole it from him. And we posted it, and it was like, Javier Milei leaving the WEF after telling Klaus Schwab
with
to go fuck himself.
Indian dick.
Yeah, he's got like a 10-foot long dick, and a bunch of women are carrying it. She got like thousands of likes on it.
Oh, it's great.
Again, memes are important. Hopefully that meme got people to go look into what are they even talking about, and then maybe they saw the video, which we're going to play here, him talking about like libertarian principles and things like that, and then maybe somebody will learn something like that's a good idea. I believe in that, but I didn't even know that was a thing. Some shit like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but a lot of people get put in such a box they don't even realize that they can like drop a wall and like, oh, there's something over there. Oh, there's something over there, or like we spur a conversation that they're like, holy shit, these two momos made a point.
Yes.
Like we know we're just normal dudes, but like we're also thinking about these things from all angles, all aspects, and we're open. Even though we might like hold our ground on certain things, we're still open to the discussion that our mind could be changed.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Mm-hmm. You want to play that video?
Yeah, we'll play it. So
what we're talking
about. Play. Actually, let's frame it correctly, right? Because
okay,
we are talking about the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, is going on right now. I think it's wrapping up soon. And so Javier Milei, the recent libertarian president of Argentina, he went there. Now, again, there's been a lot of talk around him, like, oh, he's not for real. He's a World Economic Forum plant and whatnot. Now, going into this, there was, that was the criticism even in the libertarian sphere, because there's actually an anarcho-capitalist convention going on in Acapulco, and people are like,
what is going on in Acapulco?
An ANCAP convention, like anarcho-capitalism convention, and people are like, why isn't he going there? He's the ANCAP president. I'm like, I remember saying this to the guy who's running the event. I'm like, it's more valuable for the ANCAP president to go to the World Economic Forum and preach the message of capitalism to them than it is to him go to a bunch of people who agree with him on everything. It's going to be like a rah-rah rally. You shouldn't have planned the thing at the exact same time, to be honest with you. Maybe he would have went to both. So he's going there, and I think to set the stage of the World Economic Forum this year, Klaus Schwab has been, he's said, like rebuilding trust is the theme of the event this year.
I'm fucking trying to murder everybody and fucking lie to him for the past couple of years.
They've been outed, dude, the past couple of years. Everybody knows who they are now, right? And shared their goofy fucking, comic book villain videos and whatnot. So Javier Milei goes there and he has a great video. But I want to first preface it by a couple weeks ago, Klaus Schwab, he referenced libertarianism, which is rare for him to talk about this. And then we'll play kind of Javier Milei's rebuttal, in a sense, right there in front of him, about it. So let's let it rock.
You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. So fixing the present system is not enough. Now there is, of course, an anti-system, which is called libertarianism, which means to tear down everything which creates some kind of influence of government into private lives. It's dismantling the system.
So, bear with him. He's got a bit of a heavy accent there. But in a sense, he's right. He's talking about libertarianism as an anti-system movement trying to break down, the involvement of government in everyone's life. That's pretty spot on. It's more than that. He's obviously trying to spin it in a negative light.
Yeah, into his like, oh, that you can't have anarchy. What would you do? Meanwhile, we're living in fucking chaos and anarchy right now, but not cool anarchy.
Right. Chaos and anarchy are two different things.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
No, they are. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I'm going to play the video here. It's about, I think I said it's until like 11 something that it ends. But so
yeah, it's about 2 or 3 minutes.
Everyone should watch his 23-minute speech. It's Javier Milei. He makes a lot of like funny remarks about communism and things like that. He also gets real, and I watched the whole thing. He gets real in depth on economics, like really boring shit. And I watched it, and it makes me believe that he's more for real than I even thought he was before, just because of like how in depth his understanding of like free market systems are. He's not an idiot. Like he wrote the speech, but like you could tell he knows what he's talking about. So to contrast what Klaus Schwab talking bad about libertarianism, we're going to let Javier Milei talk about libertarianism here for about 3 or 4 minutes, and we could anytime you want to chime in, let me know and I'll pause it.
Now, in order to understand what we come...
Real quick, I just want to say, he only speaks Spanish, so I'm using a translated version that David Sachs used, and he used an AI to translate it, and the AI translated it in an English voice that sounds like Javier Milei's voice, which makes it even more funny. So I just want to point out first that that's a product of capitalism right there, doing something super cool like that. That's even like a really cool thing you could see AI doing. Now, we could go down a rabbit hole about what might be bad about AI.
We're not even going to touch on that right now.
But that's a cool application in and of itself right there. So let's hear what he has to say.
Come to defend, it is important to define what we mean when we talk about libertarianism. To define it, I take up the words of the greatest proponent of the ideas of freedom in Argentina, Professor Alberto Venegas Lynch, who says that libertarianism is the unrestricted respect for the life project of others, based on the principle of non-aggression, and in defense of the right to life, liberty, and property, whose fundamental institutions are private property, free markets without state intervention, free competition, division of labor, and social cooperation, where one can only be successful by serving others with goods of better quality at a better price. In other words, the capitalist, the successful entrepreneur, is a social benefactor who contributes to the well-being of society as a whole. In short, a successful entrepreneur is a hero. This is the model that we are proposing for the future of Argentina, a model based on the fundamental principles of libertarianism, the defense of life, freedom, and property. Now, if free market capitalism and economic freedom have been remarkable instruments to eradicate poverty globally, and we are presently experiencing the most favorable period in human history, it is worth inquiring why I assert that the West is in jeopardy.
So just to give context, at the very beginning of his speech, he starts the whole speech saying that like the West is in trouble. And then he also preferences...
And he's not wrong.
Right. And then he says later that, yes, well, at the same time, we're living in like the best time in human history.
I say it all the time.
Right. Now, I tend to agree with that, and I try to always give... Now, while our shows kind of inherently complain about everything going on in the world, I'd say. It's kind of like the role of our shows in politics. But like, if you know history of human life... Yes. Pretty good. I have a cabin in my backyard. I could get food pretty easily.
I say it all the time. It's not about if you took away the slavery of us having to live under debt and people's thumbs, like the convenience of life, we have it the easiest that humans have ever had it in the entire existence of humans that we know of, right? That like you said, if it's dark, we turn on the light. If it's cold, we turn on the
Right.
heat. If we're hungry, we go to the fridge. Like, we are still not in our area of Western civilization. Like, obviously not like the poverty in the urban areas and whatever. Like, you know, that's done
Sure.
by design
But
too.
even them, even if
we're
you
easy street right now.
yes, let's again, context is critical. We're not saying that
Yep.
there's not things wrong. Again, our shows are founded on pointing out how a lot of things are wrong. But even if you're like a poor person, let's say in West Virginia or Harlem, you're living
You're still living
the
better
life,
than
you know, compared to somebody 400 years ago, you know, in the Amazon rainforest or some shit like that. Context is critical. So we'll let Javier keep going here, but he's talking to a group of people, in my opinion, who are saying, you know, like
live in the pods and eat the bugs.
yeah, right. And he's saying no, like what got us to this point of being in the best time in human history relative to the past is like embracing free market capitalism. That's what made everyone richer in the world and raised the standard of living.
That all these people that are telling us how to live and how our society should be all got rich from doing that.
Yeah. I'd say
not all of them, but
no, I wouldn't say all of them. Yeah. Let's let Javier keep going, then we'll because me and you are gonna rant here forever. So let's keep going.
Go ahead.
I argue that the West is endangered as in countries defending free market, private property, and other institutions of libertarianism, sectors of the political and economic establishment, due to errors in their theoretical framework and ambition for power, undermine libertarianism, opening doors to socialism and potentially condemning us to poverty, misery, and stagnation. Because it should never be observed that socialism is always and everywhere impoverishing, failed in all countries where attempted. It was a failure economically, it was a failure socially, it was a failure culturally, and it also killed more than 100 million human beings. The main problem of the West today is that we not only have to confront those who, even after the fall of the wall and overwhelming evidence, continue to advocate for impoverishing socialism, but also our own leaders, thinkers, and academics who, sheltered in a misguided framework, undermine the foundations of the system that has given us the greatest wealth and prosperity in our history. The theoretical framework I am referring to is neoclassical economic theory, which designs an instrument unintentionally functional to the intrusion of the state, socialism, and the degradation of society.
Okay, so if you want, go and watch the whole thing. I'm not going to play the whole thing on the podcast here for you guys. He goes on to name names and name ideologies, and he names neoliberalism there. And again, going back to what you were saying, he's pointing out that, you know, the things that have gotten society to this great point in human history where we have it easy to live are capitalism. And, you know, this is the value in having a guy like him go to something like this, in my opinion, right? He goes to something like this and he talks to these people right to their face who are, in a sense, Marxists, just to one extent or another. I know you said before they got there by, you know, capitalism and whatnot. No, they really didn't. Most of these guys are advocating for like state intervention, state control in the marketplace. That's literally what Klaus Schwab was saying before. He wants the state.
Yeah, but where does Daddy get his money from?
Klaus Schwab? I don't remember exactly. You probably remember that one more than I do.
His father was a Nazi, and I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't.
So we're just putting it out there. But, you know, I mean, they raped and pillaged over there and stole people's fortunes and everything else. But a lot of them also was like Germany, you know, for a long time was like free market. What were they selling?
Yeah, but they weren't really free market, dude. They were national socialists, right? Like it was like state, you know, conglomeration with corporation. It wasn't a free market that they had in Germany. Like it's like there's.
It's a free market when you run shit and you can take whatever you want, right?
Yeah, I guess if you want to twist
but in your traditional terms of free market, it's not a free market, right?
No, it's not at all. It's
where are all these rich people getting their money from?
They're getting it through monopolized control of the economy, like the pharmaceutical industry, through like Soros, who gave many speeches at this thing. You know,
because it's not really a free market.
Sorry, go ahead.
right now. Even it's not really even
not
a
at
free
all.
market right now.
No, there are
because
free market aspects, of course, right? And I've always made
Yes.
the argument that like even under like a crony, shitty free market system like we have right now,
we can still make money.
yes, right, and things are still better as opposed to like the Soviet Union system of like super centralized control of every aspect of society in every which way. You can, I thought it was interesting. He mentions culture, right? Now compare what popular culture is memorable right now in 2024 from the Soviet Union compared to what popular culture is memorable right now from America. Say during the same reference, like for all our criticisms of Disney and whatnot, like Mickey Mouse, blue jeans, rock music, artwork. All these things were because of freedom and free markets, right? Like, is there anything you remember out of the Soviet?
Motorcycles, hot rods,
Right.
this,
Like,
that.
what's
Yep.
memorable from the Soviet Union, from a collectivist, centralized control economy all these years later?
Hammer and sickle.
Yeah. The flag,
That's
right?
Yeah.
The books about how awful it was
They
that I've been
create
reading
anything
lately,
great,
yeah, exactly. Like,
maybe their space program, Sputnik.
yeah, maybe, right? But
Remember
yeah, but we even beat
did
them.
they
in the
even really
space
go
race.
anywhere?
Right. That too. We could go down that rabbit hole, but
That's if we believe space is real.
yeah, I mean, let's save that for another episode. Let's stick to the politics here tonight.
Had
But-
to fuck with you.
So I don't know what are your thoughts, man? Just because this sells me on him more. Now, of course, he's always a politician. I always say you always should be skeptical of every politician, even the ones you like. What are your thoughts so far? And after seeing some of this on Javier Milei, I'm thinking you're coming from more like the critical angle.
No, I mean, I think his words sound great. It's got to be the actions though that make the man, right? So like, and we know all politicians. Some are great at saying everything you want to hear, but until we really see him, like, move mountains and do what he said he's going to do, like, I'm just kind of sitting by the sideline watching right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get overly critical on him, but I'm not letting him off the hook either.
Yeah, of course. I agree.
You know
with
what I'm
100%.
saying? I'm trying to hold him accountable, and especially, I know you're bigger into the libertarianism, and I mean, I think I really am a libertarian with just heavier leading conservative values. There's some things I agree with, some things I don't. But I mean, I don't understand why anybody needs to have control over me. I don't get it. So like, it's very hard for like, me to even like put myself into a political playing field with certain things anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so foreign to the way you think or it's like antithetical to your existence.
Yeah. Like I'm just not built like that in my skull. So it's like, a easy way to put it is like, me and you can have a conversation and we're doing something and somebody does something that me and you look and like, why would you even fucking do that?
Mm-hmm.
But like in their head, it makes total sense. But to us, cause we're just not built that way. Like I always say, like having kids, like we've all had people that we know that have had kids and left their kids and never even seen them again. Or never even took care of them. Where like me, I'm like, how could you do it? Like we're just not built like that.
That's
Like I would take care. Exactly, and that's how it keeps feeling as we go further and further along this process of just seeing the bullshit. It's just like it's more and more foreign to me because I don't like to be controlled.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
That's my wife.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine.
Like,
God bless her.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to this whole thing again, like say what you want about him, be critical of him. That's fine. I think there's some value in the fact that he ran on a populist message of libertarianism and he won.
Yes.
Right. So like number one, there's some value right there that running on a principled message like that can win, regardless of the fact that either he's a plant or whatever people want to say, like the nihilist take on it, that like he's not for real. He's a World Economic Forum plant. Okay, maybe he is, right? But he still won running on not the message of I'm a plant. He won on the message of like freedom, liberty, private property, free markets, etc. That means that people liked that, right? And people want that in Argentina. Then he goes to the World Economic Forum and you can watch the 20 fucking minutes. He knows way more than I do. And he goes and he tells these people who believe in the complete opposite of libertarianism. I just played the leader of the World Economic Forum. Tell you about how he hates
fucked.
it. Right. He tells them to get fucked right to their face. Calls them out, with Klaus Schwab in the audience right there. There is value to that. Is he going to change any of their minds? I don't know, right? But how many people watch that video and they're like, good, fuck them. Again, maybe I'll look into a couple more of these things this guy is talking about, and you'll appreciate some of the libertarian aspects of our society that have been around the past 100 years, and be like, you know what, I those things have worked, right? There's some value to them. I should appreciate those things, and I should make that one of my principles. Like, we should be principled in the way we think about economics, and the way we think about liberty and self-defense, right? Like, there should be no, and what I mean by principled is like around the Second Amendment, we don't give anything. Right, ever.
Yeah, no,
there's not an inch
no
to be given.
Right,
there is not. If you see some Republican, again, principles, Donald Trump, take the guns first. What was his quote? Take the guns first, and do due process later. He said that one time. What? That's against every principle like that he should have. So again, that's one of my criticisms in that regard. You should always stick to your principles. That doesn't mean you can't like hear out somebody else like me and you do. We have debates and things like that, but on core fundamental aspects of life, like freedom.
Well, there's lines that you don't cross, like hard stop, hill I'll die on.
Yes.
Sorry, that's it. Game over. Do not pass go. Get the fuck out of my face.
And also, there's reasons why those things are correct, and you should like look into them and do some reading around these things, right? Like, people have had all these debates and written papers on this shit about like how it works. This guy's one example of it. Murray Rothbard and a lot of the other, Hayek, Mises, all these guys have written all this shit down and thought all this shit down. If you read it and you think about it, you're like, this does make a lot of sense. Non-aggression principle, free markets, competition. He's even talking about, I meant to bring this up to you. This applies to you, dude. He's talking about how like the entrepreneur is like critical to society. You're an entrepreneur. You started your own business, right? Like, you've provided a net benefit to North Jersey through your gym. Like, the government didn't do that. You did that. Never. People come
they
to
want
you.
my taxes this week too. These motherfuckers.
Again, free market. Like, you could do even more if the government wasn't restricting the market. Again, you are providing a service to North Jersey. People come to your gym, they learn MMA, and you teach them a whole bunch of things. They get in better shape.
We're giving back to the community. We're helping out in the community. We support other businesses in the community with our members, and vice versa. I have my grappling show. We do that. We support the local, from New York to PA jiu-jitsu community that brings money into this area and that area, and it's just kind of how it works. Like, wherever I am, I take care of the people that have taken care of me, and vice versa. And we've created our own commerce in our small community with each other, because I'm bringing something of value, they're bringing something of value. We can use each other for certain things, and that's how it should be, and
that's good for your culture, your society, your where you live.
It's also easier for an entrepreneur to reach into their pocket and help out.
Right.
Than it is going through like law bill. Where are we going to appropriate funds? Where are we going to put your money? Oh, let's give some back to us first for thinking about it and putting it on paper and doing this, and that, where it's like, oh, you're a mom in need? Cool. Here's the fucking 1,000. Here's 2,000. Your rent needs to be paid. I got you. No worries. Like,
And the beauty of free market capitalism,
you don't need the bureaucratic bullshit.
You don't. And competition is, now let's say you didn't do the right thing. Let's say your gym sucked and you were an asshole. And you ripped people off in the community all the time. Well, guess what? Someone else in the community is going to be like, this guy Garrett in North Jersey MMA, they suck. They're assholes. I'm going to open up my own fucking MMA gym across the street. And I'm going to be nice to the customers, right? And I'm going to give them a good product and service. And you know what's going to happen to you? Your ass is going to go out of fucking business, and they're going to thrive. And you know who didn't need to step in to regulate that scenario? The government. They didn't have to, right? Because the market regulated itself. Because that's just the way.
100%.
And it produced a better. That's not what happened, but in theory, it would have produced a better product or service, like he's talking about before. Every time you try, every time the government tries to inject itself in the market, it creates a worse scenario, a worse outcome.
I say it all the time too. I must be doing something right, though, Skaggs. I made it through the 2008 housing crisis. I made it through fucking COVID. I'm making it through the apocalypse and the Civil War pending, right? So, like, I got to be doing something right to be able to support myself. by myself since I was, on my own since I was 22 years old, and raise a family and buy a house and have my things. And, so obviously the market's reflecting that I have, I might not have the biggest value, but I have some value for what I'm doing,
Of course, man. And again,
Mm-hmm.
there's value to this, in my opinion. This guy going there and telling these people who don't believe in any of that, they believe in state central control of every aspect of your fucking life, down to eating
Mm-hmm.
the bugs. And we shared a funny video before, but now coffee's bad. They want to come after coffee. Coffee puts too much CO2 in the.
I said
in the
that.
air.
Yeah.
Now
I
coffee,
said that
they
to
want
you.
to control your coffee now too. He's going there and he's telling them, no, fuck you. The things that make humanity great are free market principles and libertarianism, those sorts of aspects.
Yep.
Again,
Same guy's telling you not to drink coffee or flying in on their private jets. Let's just go there, man. Let's just go. Like, if they can't slap you in the mouth and call you stupid anymore, like, I don't know what else is going to wake somebody's dumb ass up. Like, they are literally laughing in our faces. I mean, you're seeing all these Teslas on the side of the road. Let's go EV. None of them can fucking run in the cold. There's no charging stations. They're stuck all over. I drove home from PA in a snowstorm. You know, it was all on the side of the roads. Teslas.
Yeah, not good in the
And I'm
snow,
like, dude, I figured they'd be like good in the snow. They're heavy, whatever.
That's true. Yeah.
No good. Saw probably about 12 Teslas off the road. So I mean, here nor there. I mean, electric cars are cool. Like, but people act like it's a new thing. There was electric cars in the fucking, 1800s. Like, there was electric scooters and everything else. They did away with them, I guess, because they weren't as efficient. Well, when you have the right technology that you can take the electricity, they were efficient, but then they got rid of it and they went to petroleum and oil and everything else because they can control that ebbs and flows, not the free energy ebbs and flows, right?
Sure. They also control that through government regulation, though, right? As well. Like, it's not like, yes.
Do they?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they're, like Amazon, if you got rid of the government, Amazon could try to, like, force the market in the direction that Amazon wants it to go. But again, and Amazon could theoretically become the government, right? But then the principle still applies. If they just become the government, then okay, then we don't like Amazon, and what they're doing is wrong, right? So, they could try but in reality, what most of the time happens is, like, these gigantic corporations will lobby the government to enact regulations and things like that. Why? Because regulations protect them from competition. Javier Milei, again, don't trust him, whatever. Domestically, I think he's repealed like almost 30,000 plus laws so far.
Yes, but James says it all the time too. Like, sometimes message over messenger.
Yes, of course, right.
I think this could be a situation that you can apply that theory to, like, whether you like him or hate him, whether you think he's going to be this and this, like, the message over the messenger. He's one of the only people, for the most part, that has went in front of other people, whether it's a show, it's not, it's a plan, it's a this, and had the balls to go up and deliver the message that most of us are thinking to the people who are telling us to eat the bugs, live in the pots.
Right, exactly. Now,
so you know what?
Yes.
Hold on, let's take a second.
Yes, exactly.
Let's give him a slow clap here.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's also something that's unique in this time, right?
It is. Right, people are rising up. This is the thing I can't stand about the fucking nihilism and the black pilledness, right? Like, like, or I was even telling James, like, there's the no true Scotsman thing, where, like, anytime anyone steps up and starts saying the right thing or trying to do the thing, whether it's Vivek,
they're like, but he did this,
right?
Yeah,
like, there's always like, well, he's not real. He's no true Scotsman. He's not real because of this, and he's not real because of that. Now, even me,
which is a good point,
who has my criticisms of Donald Trump, I've never been like, well, he's not the real deal. I don't know, right? I'm willing to hear him out and give him a shot. Maybe he is on my side. Maybe he's just not down the rabbit hole and these things the way we are. But if you have like this built in, every time someone steps up, like that would also then apply to, like, me and you. Then, like, we're fake too, right? And, like, whatever we say, like, there's no one ever could do the right thing. That's bullshit. That's not the way human life works. There are good people and there are bad people, and most of the time, even the bad people think that they're the good people as well. So go ahead. We're gonna...
very true. Very true. I mean, we're all just trying to figure it the fuck out too. Yeah. That's what nobody understands. We've had so many, wool pulling over our eyes so many times, and now we're ripping it away and we're finding out information and we're doing stuff. So, I mean, it's good that we're hyper skeptical of everybody because we do our digging, we do this, we see where they come from. But, I mean, not to get religious or anything, but, like, who'd God use? The prostitutes, the thieves, the this, the that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it doesn't mean because you've done bad things in your life, you can't do great things in the future as well.
Of course. Yeah.
Because you learn from your mistakes. Now, are there certain mistakes that are unforgivable? Yeah, murder, children, shit. Yeah, okay, that's unforgivable. You know, even murder, in a sense, like if you're protecting yourself, it is.
Well, it's not murder. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's self-defense,
Yes.
But I mean, any day, anywhere in this country now, if you protect yourself, you're a murderer first. It is.
I know.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's fucking sad.
You know, it's interesting. You just remind me of. I'm reading. I'm almost done. I'm reading the Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn, and he talks about the Gulag system and how the crimes and all this stuff in the Soviet Union worked. And he has this one line where he's talking about thieves and how thieves kind of get off easy in the Soviet Union, as opposed to someone who says something bad about Stalin gets 20 years in the Gulag. And he made a goddamn point that I think rings true so much to today, where he's like, thieves are allies of like the communist regime. Thieves don't value private property inherently, right? Like thieves steal your shit. They don't give a fuck about your private property or whatever you owe. So like they're valuable to a communist regime who doesn't believe in private property either, right? So like they could be used to advance the cause of a communist regime. And I thought about that and I'm like, holy shit. Is that a reason why nowadays you see like all these prosecutors who won't prosecute property crime, but then they'll prosecute like self-defense of whether it's Daniel Penny in the city or that Bodega, the guy who was on the corner of the bodega tried to defend himself and they wanted to throw him in prison. I don't know. Is there something to that?
73-year-old man in Texas that was protecting himself because migrants were coming over and he shot one and now he's in jail because they've been coming over his property, fucking up his cattle, breaking his stuff, and they were firing a gun at him. He fired a warning shot and they started shooting, etc. We're seeing this all over again. And like I said, and we've said it 1,000 times, like it's done by design. And it has happened other times in history. If you read or if you look, that's why it's like, oh, same playbook.
Right.
Same playbook.
And like, if you like this.
Well, that's like they punish the legal gun owners, right?
Right.
But they think the criminals are going to give a fuck about magazine capacity. Well, we're going to abide by that. You know,
every time there's a mass shooting, every time there's a mass shooting, the corporate press, the powers that be, like the first person they're looking to punish is the law-abiding gun owner. The first person, right? Not the person who committed the act or anything like that.
Nope. Now they need to take everybody's shit.
Yeah. So again, you were just saying before. Think back to history. If you know about history, like these things repeat themselves. Using the Soviet Union again, which I love to use as an example, just because I'm so deep down that rabbit hole right now. They didn't like outright tell their citizens that this is what they were doing. It's not like Stalin was like, hey, by the way, I'm incentivizing thieves because thieves don't believe in private property rights and neither do I. And blah. No, they didn't say that. Right? They came up with some propaganda line about the Soviet man and how this is the best thing for society and blah 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 blah. But this is what they were doing behind the scenes in reality. We just have hindsight now to go back and look exactly what was happening. People who wrote stories and exposed the truth later on. That could be what's happening right now. They're just not out,
and they had to live through it too.
Right, they had to live through it. Again, they're not like outright telling you, like the DAs in the cities. They're not outright telling you, like, yeah, we're trying to subvert, like our private property, liberty-based system, in favor of a more Marxist, centralized thing. And this is why we're letting thieves get away with crime, and we're punishing guys like Daniel Penny or whoever. Like it could be it. It could be an idea again. It's an ideological thing they're doing, but they're not like outright telling you that because people are going to be like, whoa, what? I don't agree with that. Let's fucking do something about it right now.
Yeah, but you know what, Skaggs? All you have to do is read between the lines.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And the problem is some people are simpletons. Some people just, stick their head in the sand and claim they're too busy with life. And I'm like, those people drive me nuts are the worst because they're intelligent humans and they're refusing to look at the oncoming train because they're like, if I don't look at it, it's not going to hurt when it hits me.
Some people's heads are just in the sand too. This past week, I was at my buddy's house and we were talking. Bunch of us are having kids, right? And one of my buddies is having a kid for the first time. So like the conversation of like the crazy shit going on in the schools came up, and I was like, "Oh, you see, now you care, right? Like now you're interested in what's going on in the schools." And we went down the rabbit hole, and he asked like, "Why? Like why is that happening?" And I'm like, dude, you ever stop and,
here we go.
you know what I mean? I'm like, you ever stop and think about how like every totalitarian regime in history always tries to like subvert children and pit them against their parents, and like
It's the future.
the Hitler Youth Program, Mao's Red Guard. And I gave him like all these examples. He's like, you know, dude, I never fucking thought of that before. I never thought of it that way before. I'm like, yeah, like it's not going to look exactly the same as it did every other time. It's going to have its new brand, its new spin on it, but it's possible that could be what they're trying to do. And you know, and every time they do it, they spin it as a good thing. The Hitler Youth Program is spun as awesome. It's Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
You get to go and learn how to use knives and build campfires and blah, 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 and all this shit. Like, it wasn't spun as like, we're going to raise you to be a bunch of genocidal fucking maniacs. We're going to go march onto war against the world in the next 10 years or something like that. Pull your fucking head out of the sand. Take the red pill. Like, wake up.
You know, now he has skin in the game.
Right.
When you don't have the skin in the game, it's easy for you to be like, you know, I don't have kids. Abort everybody. Oh, I don't have kids. What's the big deal of them talking about cutting their dicks off? Oh, I don't have kids. Now you have a kid, and you're like, wait, I don't want them to do this.
Right. Yeah. It changes your perspective.
But I think the Hitler Youth will be a good segue for the last couple minutes for us to go into the Palestine-Israeli conflict that's going on. And I know that's why I want to kind of switch over now, because we're probably going to get into this for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just in the past, day or two, there's massive protests again that, you know, a lot of the Israeli people are calling to get rid of Bibi, right?
Yeah.
And get rid of the government because they don't like what they've been doing to, you know, basically their neighbors. Right?
I think that's something that
their fellow people. If you put two real Israelis and Palestinians next to each other, I wouldn't even tell them apart.
Yeah, they all look alike.
They're the same people, man.
I think one of the
that's
things,
why it's even crazier to me.
It is. And again, I think one of the things that should be stressed here is that people are protesting explicitly because they don't like what the Israeli government is doing in Gaza, right? And Israelis are explicitly protesting that. Now, there was a poll that came out the other day.
Not Zionists, Israelis.
Israeli citizens.
There's a difference.
And when we started this whole thing, we talked about like our beef is not with Israelis or Jews, it's with the government. Just like every other fucking beef I have on this show. It's with the government and their policies.
Anti-Semite. Shut up.
Yes, exactly. You know, that's always the talking point.
That's like the reverse Uno card every time. It's like, what? Anti-Semite. Fuck.
Yep.
Anti-Semite. Fuck. You know, like, but
that's the same thing as like you're a Putin apologist or whatever. It's the same method. Or you're a racist. 100%. You're a Nazi. It's the same shit.
I know.
Yeah,
I understand. But, you know, I think something that the people should know is that this was happening before October 7th.
Yes.
They were planning huge protests, get rid of the government. And that's why I've said since day one, you can backtrack me, everything else. This was, and Bibi said it himself. He just said it in a different context. This was our 9/11.
Right, yeah.
This was
it's a red flag for people like me and you.
Side, right? Yeah, but I said it. I said, this is the equivalent of their 9/11. Now, his 9/11 that he's trying to portray people is rah, rah, rah. This gives us the go, like it gave the U.S.
The rally to the flag
and now we're
effect.
Like, this was stupid, not stupid, false, you know. But yeah, now it's really popping off. I mean, after they just fucking massacred a bunch of people, you know, and listen, both sides do fucked up shit.
Of course.
One side's, you know, done more fucked up shit to the other, vice versa. I'm not here to judge that. I just know both sides, I'm sure, have done some fucked up shit to each other.
Oh, yeah, they have.
You know?
A long history of doing fucked up shit to each other over there.
Well, what's going on now is just really fucked up shit. You know?
Yeah, and the way I've always looked at it as well is it only makes, like, it doesn't actually make you safer if you're a Jew or an Israeli, right? Like, I actually got into a little bit, I think this is a good point to bring it up. I got into a little bit of a Twitter spat with Gad Sad the other day. I don't know if you know who Gad Sad.
Nice.
Yes, he retweeted me. He's super, you know, famous, popular on Twitter. He's like a professor.
Been on Joey Rogan before.
Smart guy. You know, really on point at criticizing the woke shit all the time. I think there's an interesting link between people who are terrible on war and really good on the anti-woke stuff. I always find that to be a little ironic. So God Saad, he tweeted, so he retweeted me actually, but I was responding to him. He said, I'll be speaking at an event organized by a Jewish organization at the end of January. I'm presuming that there will be a lot of security. Any guesses as to why that might be the case? I'm like, might have something to do with the fact that Israel's killing 30,000 plus people in Gaza. That's my guess, right? Now, I wasn't saying that to try and be like a dick to God sad. I'm sure there's a cause effect relationship, and again, if you're a Jew or an Israeli, especially more so because now we're seeing that the Israelis in Israel are being critical of the government and want to change, but that's like not happening in America. Like the right wing conservative Jews in America, or especially popular guys like Gad Saad, like there's not a critical word that ever comes from them about the Netanyahu government. What they're doing is causing people to hate Jews more, and then you need to get security to protect yourself at a thing. Again, like, could you just advocate that they not go in there and just carpet bomb the whole fucking place? Is that like such a bad thing? To, you know what I mean? Like, it's not obfuscating what they did and saying that it's good what they did, but two wrongs don't make a right, as they say. They make a left.
It is a good point there, Skaggs.
So, he said, can you share a verifiable source for the 30,000 figure, and are all Jews responsible for Israel's retaliation to the October 7th massacre? If so, would you blame all Muslims for the 44,000 plus terror attacks since 9/11 alone in the 70 plus countries in the name of Islam?
Oh, he just went into that.
So just like
CIA, false fucking flags everywhere. They created it. Jesus Christ. You're not that stupid.
Should I even read my response? I mean, I guess he thought he was talking to a leftist or something. Doesn't know shit about fuck, right? So I was like,
"Oh, go!"
So I'm like,
Skaggs.
yeah.
No, I
I'm
like
like,
this.
he doesn't respond to this, but I'm like, hey, these sound like odd admissions of guilt from your point of view. Are you condemning the way the Israeli government has gone about its response? Average Israeli citizens are no more to blame for Netanyahu's war in Gaza and his policy around it the past 10 plus years than the average Palestinians are for Hamas's terrorist attack on 10/7. And no, all Muslims are not to blame for 9/11 and the terrorist attacks. The same way, all Americans are not to blame for the United States federal government's 7+ wars in the region, killing almost 2 million Muslims during that same time frame. Normal people will suffer the consequences of their government and their ruling gangs' actions. However, so if we'd like to avoid that and not have innocent Jews targeted as the blowback from that, perhaps we should advocate their governments don't set the conditions for which it happens.
Well, he didn't have a response.
No, of course he didn't have a response.
For that fucking slaying you just gave, Gadsad.
Of course not.
Listen, bravo, Skaggs. That was well written, buddy.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody appreciated it.
I fucking appreciate it. That was good.
Put a lot of work into that one.
But it was well thought. No, but it was well thought out. It was, I think, just from my perspective, it wasn't delivered as demeaning or anything. It was just really stating the fucking facts that we talk about all the time. It's like, so perfect example, like, are me and you responsible? We tell the government that we don't want you to fucking attack Yemen. We don't want you to attack all these other places every time, and they still do it. And now everybody, Datura America, right? And it's like, dude, like, we don't want this shit either. And I say it all the time. It's not the people. It's the fucking people who think they're tough in charge that are making these stupid decisions.
Yes. And it's ironic because
9% of them are a bunch of fucking pussies. We've been led by a bunch of pussies for way too long. We need strong men and women to step the fuck up.
Yes, of course,
we
dude.
do.
And it's ironic. I don't think that's what Gadsad is saying, that people are. Again, I don't think he is saying that people are responsible for what their governments do. I think he's trying to say that I'm making that insinuation or something like that.
Yeah,
no.
But I think he got that misconstrued in reading that.
Yeah, he could.
Because he's a smart guy. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Sure.
I think that would be fair.
Yes, I think it would be fair. That line of thinking,
because definitely your response too, he probably read it, was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, if he even read it.
Got a point.
That line of thinking
from a different place.
So I'm not saying that is what his line of thinking is, but he's trying to make that out to be what my line of thinking is. Although it's not. That line of thinking is what Osama bin Laden's line of thinking was. If you actually remember his letter went viral a month or two ago, whatever. And in his letter, he's basically said, like, well, Americans are guilty for all these crimes against my people because you voted for your governments who did this to us. Now, Is that true? No, it's not. Obviously, like,
no,
what about
they don't even we do vote for them.
What about
they want.
So, like, at base level, what about the people who didn't vote for George Bush or whatever? Had nothing, you know what I mean? So, like, first of all, no. Second of all, no. Like, obviously not. Just because I voted for a politician, then every decision that politician makes, I'm responsible for. No, obviously that's not the fucking case, right? But if you're using that rationale, then you're no better than fucking bin Laden. If you're using that rationale for the Palestinians, and you don't want to say, hey, the way that Israel has gone about killing all these people is bad, and therefore I should criticize my government, or the Israeli government for doing that. Well, then you're kind of saying like, well, you know what, they're getting what they deserve because of what Hamas did. Okay, well then you're no better than Osama bin Laden, right? Again, if you even look back at the history of it. The Palestinians, Hamas, they'll always point to, Hamas, they voted for Hamas. Yeah, in 2006. And Hamas won with a plurality. So Hamas won by not even winning a majority.
But who also funded Hamas?
Right, he did, Netanyahu, right? Again, you could just chip away and go down the rabbit hole here and shit. Like, you're God's side. Do you know these things? You're popular, you're smart.
To keep Arafat at bay, to PLO, what is it, PLO?
Yes, right. He wanted to, subvert the PLO. The Palestinian Authority, yes. Abbas and all them in Ramallah there. We will tie it up here. They don't want, the Zionist project does not want a Palestinian state or Palestinian rights. I literally found this the other day, like by accident. On the same day, this was on Sunday, I think, and exactly 10 minutes apart, the two people, the two most powerful people in the Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu and Itamar Ben-Gvir, tweeted that there will never be a Palestinian state.
Yep.
Benjamin Netanyahu, I will not compromise on full Israeli security control over the entire area west of Jordan, and this is contrary to a Palestinian state. And Ben-Gvir says, I do deny a Palestinian state, always. They're telling you right there. They have no interest in Palestinians having any rights or having a state. And they're the guys in charge. They're not some stupid idiot leftists.
How do they still have Twitter accounts?
Yeah, right. The
or X accounts.
I think I also shared Netanyahu saying from the river to the sea this past week.
Yeah,
as well.
How do they still have all these accounts? How is this even possible?
There's some flaws in the
logic. This wasn't allowed in
I thought that quote. Again, like, we're in this weird place right now. We're defending some of these leftists, right? But that doesn't mean that they're not without merit ever. And, like, if you're going to say that they can't say from the river to the sea, and then if them saying from the river to the sea is genocide, but then a guy who's in a position to actually command soldiers that can go commit genocide says from the river to the sea, that's not genocide? Give me a break. And people actually commented that, like, defending him in the comments. It's just like, geez, you need to be red-pilled some more, Yeah.
Cucks. Yeah.
I don't know. Any other thoughts on this whole thing, man? I feel like it's losing steam at a precipitous rate. The war, like right after October 7th. Like right after October 7th, dude, it was real amped up. Like people were ready to go in there and nuke the place. Now people are losing interest in it, and it seems like we're getting more involved now in the region as opposed to Israel.
I know. Well, like I've said before, even when this thing happened, I was like, we got to let the dust settle. We're so trigger happy, no pun intended. We're so like quick on the button with everything. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it at times. But like I think patience is a virtue that we've lost in because it feels like the world's moving so fast, and if you don't get the clickbait or the headline or this or that you're lost in the sauce, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's good to step back, let cooler heads prevail, right? Age-old thing. Let's look back. Let's see. Let everything settle. Now let's make our decision. And I think as time and time goes on, they're seeing the dust settle and they're seeing what's really happening behind the fog of war. And now that the fog is lifting a little bit, they're actually seeing the true playing field. So I think that's why it's starting to go away. I mean, here nor there. I don't think the Jew tunnels helped at all. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that was a good look for them either,
Yeah.
And a lot, but that happened within a couple weeks, right?
Yep.
What are the coincidences of that?
Right, yeah.
Especially with Zionist controlled media and everything else, that shit still got out.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I don't know what the
Pretty
fuck
wild.
that was. It's wild. You said trigger happy before. I was thinking about this the other day with, like war in Yemen now escalating on our behalf. Our soldiers. I just saw 2 Navy SEALs got killed. They were boarding a Iranian shipping vessel that apparently was transporting arms to the Houthis. And people, like Dan Crenshaw's tweeting, like, these 2 brave soldiers died, blah blah blah, and tweet, he like glosses over in a passing comment at what their mission was. I'm like, so we're running covert ops on Iranian ships in the Red Sea now as well, like with boots on the ground. It's not just airstrikes either. Like you just glossed over that whole. Like, yes, I'm sad that the guys
they were physically on their boat.
I'm sad that the guys died. I don't think soldiers should be put in that position of defending the empire. But
they shouldn't even be there.
So, but you said trigger happy before. Like, just think about who is trigger happy. The United States is trigger happy. Imagine if anytime something didn't go the way China wanted around the world, they just fucking bombed people. Right? Like, when's the last time you saw China use the Air Force to bomb a country who didn't do what they want to do? They don't. They never. They don't ever do that.
Planes don't fly.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you know who does? Like, anytime, dude, anytime any country steps just slightly out of line, the bombs are coming from you, and they're coming from NATO or the United States Air Force or whatever. In Yemen, like, Yemen didn't do what they want them to do. They're trying to like defend. Even on their turf.
Dude, it's spoiled brat kid, man.
Instead of again, like the instinct.
I didn't get my way.
The instinct.
I didn't get my way.
The instinct is to be trigger happy, to immediately use bombs in the Air Force and kill. That's not even like in reality, dude. What about like diplomacy? Hey,
no,
don't do that.
Diplomatic talks?
Like, why can't that be the first? I'm just saying, like in general, like the first response is always
I understand
bombs, right? Like, why don't the Houthis don't do something you want to do? Be like, hey, let's have a chat. Like, let's work this out. Let's make a deal or something like that.
We should
they
have
send
different
the bombs
tools
first.
Yes, we should. We should have different tools in our toolbox, and not every job needs a fucking hammer. Sometimes
Not every job needs a
screwdriver.
nuke,
Yep. So yeah, sometimes you need a screwdriver. Sometimes need some fine sanding. Some jobs might need a little delicate, whatever. But I just think I don't know, because at the same time, that actually brings a thought to my head, because at the same time they're saying America weak, America weak, America weak. Is that the only way that we feel as Americans, is if we come in swanging like that, then we're not America weak?
I think that's a sign of weakness, actually.
I do too. No, I'm just putting it out there because, like, realistically, like, okay, let's break it down. I don't have to throw hands because I know how violent I can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather talk to you and do stuff, because if we get to the point of us throwing hands, then it is a nuclear thing. And I'm not just saying like I'm Billy Badass. I'm just saying in a general perspective, right?
I'd also say that you're probably pretty confident that you can, like, in good faith, work things out with people because you're coming from the right place and stuff like that, right? So like you don't need to resort to violence as the primary measure. Because, like, hey, I'm coming from the right place. This person just hears me out and hears what I have to say. They'll agree with me.
Yeah, you should be able to,
because you're confident in yourself. So now, take that and apply that to the way that United States foreign policy is, where it's always bombs first, talk later. What does that tell you about what the end goals are, or what the
No, they're not. It means that they know that nobody's going to buy their bullshit because it's bullshit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like even if they try the diplomacy, they know it's so ass backwards, and they've broken so many promises, and their words mean nothing. It's just always been their money and their muscle. We're like, I don't know.
They're not coming. People know they're not coming from a place of good faith, like Vladimir Putin.
No, it's not like, oh, we're trying to
years.
help you to get your country better and do, whatever. And, obviously, like, if you have some resources, yes, you should help us and be able to help us back and so forth and so forth. And we're working that free market again. And you know what? Like, hey, we helped you. Give us a little better deal on the gas. Give us a little better deal on that. That's a way you could repay us for, helping you guys out, I always say it. They took out the mafia, saw it was a good system, replaced themselves, and they're just running it like giant drug cartels and giant mafia bosses each country. It's insane.
The government or the gang?
It's insane.
The gang who won. Yes.
Yeah, right. That's all it is. Which I think, you don't want to be the bully on the block. but I also don't want to be the police state on the block. You know, I just want our block to be safe for us and our families and everything else. And if you want to come visit and you're cool, go ahead.
Should be
If
the
we want to come visit you and cool, all right, go ahead. It shouldn't be constant. There's no reason. We're having conflict with people that we've never even fucking met.
Yeah. Should be the fortress of
stupid.
freedom. That's what we should be.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the example, the beacon on the hill, the fortress of freedom. You ain't going to come over here and fuck with us. Why? Because we're armed to the teeth. But if you come here looking for a problem, you're going to find a problem. If you come here looking,
fuck around and find out.
Right. If you come here looking for peace and freedom and you want to eat cool food and
cool with it.
hear cool music, come on in, buddy. Good, you'll have a good time. And guess what? We're not going to come over there and look to fuck with you either, because we're going to stay over here. It's a good party we got going on here. We're not trying to, we're not trying to ruin the thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's,
we just want to pull all-nighters, baby. Let's
exactly.
go.
Yeah. Hopefully we can make it to the election in 2024, man. World War III is definitely on the table of being one of the black swan events.
There's
possibly
that.
to influence the election. That could be a whole nother episode. I'm just
the election.
Yeah, right. So I think we maybe wrap it up there, about an hour and almost 20
absolutely.
in. Yeah. So we'll wrap it up there. For those listening to the Sergeant and Samurai, check my podcast out. Is the Two Doomed Men podcast. You go to linktree.com/2doomedmen. Garrett, you do your thing.
Same thing on our end. Go to Linktree, Sergeant and Samurai. You can get wherever we are posted and what we're on. Thank you for joining us on the live X Spaces today. We are trying out a new thing, seeing how that goes. We appreciate everybody that keeps coming back. But guys, really biggest thing that helps us is not just liking, not just commenting, but share away, because the more we can share away, get this message out, maybe provoke some thought and get some people thinking, obviously different ways that they could never, they never thought about, is always a bonus, to spreading freedom and everything else that myself and Mr. Skaggs love dearly. So
yes.
On that
share
note,
ideas, not just a podcast. You learn something, you think it's a good idea, share that shit with somebody else. Share them the Milei video.
Have a beer.
Yeah.
Do it. Yep, absolutely. So on that note, we will see you later, kids, and look forward to seeing you later this week.